What?
General. The meeting has just started. You've barely missed anything.
Lead the way.
Sir.
Operational readiness would be a firm solution. More personnel in my department could garrisons.
Of this concern, we should not be rushing forward into without at least a little bit of thought ahead of time. It's best to take it slow and steady.
Indeed. Maintaining state cohesion as we venture our control further into the Outer Rim is of the utmost importance.
Is that who I think it is? Sorry, old duck. Bit late, are we?
Grancha, it's always a pleasure to see you, in good health, no less.
And you as well, Zol. We were just discussing the auxiliary garrisons on Outer Rim worlds. Do you have anything to add on this issue? I think they should be brought into the centralized military commissions.
Grancha, Grand Moff, you must understand, and I plead with you. We need to bolster those garrisons. We need to add more personnel, more troops from the General Army in there. This must be done as quickly as possible. Who they're under doesn't matter. Resource allocation does. This is not being done.
Allow me to worry allocate resources
General.
to people whose loyalty has not been vetted to the Order, General Zol. You know I agree with you on many issues, but we cannot have disparate factions before we can give resources to those men in need.
I will suggest for us to ascertain the loyalties, naval intelligence, and the Empire's. We're happy to provide that service.
I'm curious to hear the response of Governor Dot.
Thank you, Director. The problem of logistics, not a problem, I assure you. My command has handled these. Of course, the chairman is correct in what he states. We must bring in the centralized authorities. The only way to keep efficiency and the loyalty up of these Outer Rim garrisons. Assigning more troops and individual commanders creates a situation which has the possibility of being mismanaged. Cannot afford. We have designed a streamlined logistics system which must maintain. We must not be alarmist at every issue, General.
Quite right, Vice Chair. Quite right indeed.
If I may, don't see increased operational effectiveness in the Outer Rim. We're not going to see increase in the amount of resources pulled in. We've already seen incidents where hit. Why limit ourselves? Operational effectiveness.
Yes,
I
why
would
would we
add-
limit our operational effectiveness by investing in these garrisons that have proven ineffective? They were placed there some
Perhaps
time ago and have failed to hold up their own vigor, their own willingness to fight. Why not invest in something proper? Expand our horizons on the ground forces, since they seem to be failing.
So what is it that you propose, Admiral?
Well,
My
Simple.
I would
apologies,
suggest-
Admiral. Admiral
The
Togo.
fleets have always been the answer to the galaxy's problem. Why not invest in us? Put a new legion of stormtroopers at our behest, under our training and direction, and they'll launch naval marine assaults across the galaxy with more efficiency than a ragtag ground garrison.
I couldn't agree more, Admiral. It would be far more efficient for our logistic supplies to focus on star bases instead of moons and planets.
And their fervor will be unquestioning to the Empire and its Emperor.
What is the capacity in order to undertake the Admiral's bold strategy of ship construction now that the Intrala system no longer boasts a significant shipyard? Do we have the logistics to build a large fleet in the Outer Rim?
Of course we do.
Governor Dozo?
Antrala is a minor setback. Construction on a new station has already begun.
I recall a time when the fleets served the army and the army served the fleets. It wasn't a struggle, it was a dance, and it was one that was done ever so slightly and carefully. Now here we are, beating each other. Very sticks that we should be using against the rebels. Fleets? Were they under an Admiral Kincaid or any other sort back in the time of Shen and Fang? They would be immediately assigned to the Outer Rim. We would be going on a crusade of conquest, yet here the rebels stand, under an admiral, no less. Halcyon, a man we've seen before, capable, a prudent commander. Now, what's he doing? Exactly the route that we took, coming back from outside the galaxy, from the Outer Rim. Soon it'll be Yavin 4 again, and Tensag. Koralag? What about Bastion? What then? Where will your fleets be? If not under new supervision, assisting someone else, instead of the war effort, and make no mistake, this is a war.
Quite a spirited point, General. I do think it prudent to mention, since you've brought up the recently retired Admiral Kincaid, he has served his empire well. However, the fleets under his command were weak and decentralized. Admiral Togo, I suspect that you have thoughts on the matter.
Yes, you were right. Back in some time ago, in the distant past, things did work better. But things are different now. When our dance partner steps on our own feet, we cannot accomplish things when our partners are effete. And you speak of these rebels. What rebels? What rebellion? You speak as if the galaxy's on fire. You attribute these not mythical enemies as if they were much like our own empire in its early days. Are you trying to imply something? Are you trying to imply that we're some sort of... that we were born from rags?
Admiral Togo, we understand your point. Director, what do we know about Halcyon and his band of brigands?
Well, Your Excellency, as far as we are to understand, the brigands are just as you've described them. Brigands. Admiral Halsey is a criminal, a war criminal in fact, complicit in a number of crimes, having committed several atrocities, and him and his band are nothing more than simply terrorists that plague the Outer Rim. Nothing significant. Highwaymen, robbers,
I see.
nothing like an army.
General
no.
Zoll, you seemed very passionate about this. Do you have intelligence that we have not received yet?
No. But I wonder what your words, specifically the Admiral's, feel. The commander of Ventrala Station, the one who lost his station, failed as he may be now, and disgraced, mind you.
Shot.
To him and his garrison, it was a war. To the operation, the fleet that reported to show up, to him, that was a battlefield of a much larger war. Were you there, I think you the same. We must tread carefully. If Shen were here, he would not allow this. He would kill half of us for not treating this threat. I rest my case. Gruncha.
I see. Thank you for being honest, Zoll. That's something I always appreciated with you.
Gruncha, if I
Does
may
anyone
add,
else have input? Yes, General.
the operational data agrees with General. We've seen, even from our most recent trial incident, but other incidents seems to imply that this is part of a greater threat. Brigands they may be, thieves they may be, but these are thieves that are targeting our sites, doing so boldly, and they're only increasing in size. If we don't act immediately and in the way that the General has proposed, we may see fleet level operations. I just don't want to take it down now, swiftly and permanently.
For input. Anyone else wish to raise a point on this issue?
Please. I don't think that this committee should hear such alarmist rhetoric from the ground force. I mean, this is simply a regional issue which has been handled, what I can understand, by many fleets who have encountered these so-called rebels, which, what I can understand, is simply terrorists, as the director coined it. The incident at Intrala Station was simply an incident, nothing more, and the commander of that station has been dealt with appropriately for his failure. We have the best fleets. We have the best systems. There is nothing that some insurgents, a few insurgents with User or whatever they happen to have, some X-Wings, can do against our ideological defense. The people of the galaxy are with us. We must remember this as well. I, for one, think that this alarmist rhetoric should go to the wayside and we should focus on the continued build-up of our fleets and infrastructure.
You must share.
Then give me Strike Force Prime. Give me the Stormtrooper Corps. Give me a strike force to hit them. The ships to carry them. In one battle, I'll wipe them out then.
Like you did
Let me
Halsey?
prove it to
Oh,
you.
he's still alive.
They are not a threat to us. It would be a waste of resources.
We need to coalesce. We must bring our forces to bear, keep them contained at the very least, instead of spreading our forces amongst all of the jurisdictions, worrying more about the groushes in our quarters and the linen on our backs than we are the enemy with the daggers pointed at our heads, dangling above them even, on a thin rope, bear in mind.
In which case, we must simply snub out any opposition before it has a chance to manifest, which is what our home security is responsible. propose that
I
perhaps
don't have the men.
stronger command over the sectors, a more centralized regime, a stronger intelligence presence.
Anyone else have an issue to raise about this problem?
I do not share my compatriots' optimism, nor do I see it as an isolated event. Intrala was a military defeat on a strategic scale. However, I have received recently reports from the garrison at Lothal, where an Imperial garrison was bested, an entire wing of Army patrol starfighters was subdued and destroyed outright, and then a quick response force of a flotilla of 3 Star Destroyers was eluded. The General's words are prescient. I have had to reconsider the deployment of several elite combat wings from the Intercorps to important and strategic areas outside. I'm uncomfortable with this. The Corps is the jewel of our empire. But, as the General spoke, the role of the Starfighter Corps is to serve both the Army and the Navy. We are prepared to do what is asked of us, and we are shifting to meet a new threat emerging on the scene.
I beg the question. If your most elite squadrons and defense force called band of rabble-rousers, what makes you think that throwing more of the same at them will stop them? All I think that this will do is galvanize the civilian populace against. We need a stronger intelligence presence so we can understand the core issues here, not by throwing more soldiers at them, which will evidently be eluded, as it seems that your forces have done so already.
And will we watch them as they take the mid-rim? As they burn
Well,
like
gentlemen,
a brush fire
This
through
is
the outer
lunacy,
rim?
General.
I think there could be a middle road for us. It seems we are divided on the issue of sending military reinforcements. So I propose we send investigators from the Commission of Justice and the Commission of Security to investigate the validity of these rumors. If General Zoll and General Forster, as well as our Marshal here, are correct in their suspicion, we will not be caught with our pants down. It might not be the full-scale aggression General Zoll expects, but something is better than nothing.
Yes, of course, Excellency, a commission can be sent at once, which, regardless of ascertaining whatever truth there may be to be found, will only confirm the understanding that prevention of insurrection begins at home, not in the far outreaches of the Outer Rim chasing some far-flung campaign, jiving Starhogs and Space Warriors about, faffing their medals. We must ensure that the local systems stay in line through a proactive regime. Fear. Prevent them from joining any brigands, should they arise. They'll dissolve themselves. You recall that this band, their members, they have families. They have homes, wives, children. Not all on campaign with them. I know where Admiral Halsey's wife is, in fact. Pay her a visit.
And why haven't you done so already?
I don't
What is
consider
with
him
the
a serious
security
enough
forces?
threat.
Do you doubt your own police forces on these planets? Should we remove the garrisons then? How would you fare? To your point, of course, they're there to defend you from uprisings. This I do agree. But We must take a proactive measure to cut off this alliance, kill it in its crib. If they break into the Outer Rim proper, through it even, that will light a fire like nothing you've seen before. Nothing we've seen in 200 years. It will embolden those already causing trouble, as you said, in their own homes. Tend carefully,
These
Director.
brigands are secondary issue, is it not, General Zoll? While those aliens like those Pantorans keep escaping our notice, they must be our priority. We cannot allow these aliens to keep their grip on the Outer Rim.
The savages must be quashed.
I can increase
Everyone
the
knows the
deportation.
Xenos threat. The aliens are all in league with the other sub-savages like these brigands. Take down the Xenos scum and their allies, and this will all fade away. The brigands you speak of, this elaborate threat is no more than another guise built by the subhuman aliens that would trick you. They wish to deceive you into thinking there's a greater threat. There is none. They're aliens using brigands to concede the truth.
Our program
Trick.
of deportation and resettlement can be expedited forward. I know our plan initially called for 10 years, but we can expedite this significantly if resources are allocated correctly. Planets like Pancora.
That will cut the feet of this brigands. They would no longer have local support. I approve of any
The
measure
native-
we would have on this, Vice Chair.
Of course, I'll have it drafted immediately by my aides. Bring these rebellious species off of their homeworld to ship them off to do something useful with the rest of their lives, like mining, collecting resources, or whatever we end up having them do. And replacing these planets with good, ideologically pure humans, citizens of the Empire, we can assure that if these brigands that you speak of, General, happen to break into our core sectors, that we will have an ideological defense against this defeatist attitude.
Comrades, I would like to bring to the point of all of your attention. I'm sure that many of you have seen the declaration of the so-called Congress of the Coalition.
Poorly written.
Yes.
A pitiful document. Toilet paper, nothing more. Believe, perhaps, a way that we can rip the entire cause that they claim to stand for out from under them. Quash any dissent without even firing a single. What if we beat them to their own proclaimed game? The Empire abolishes slavery.
I support the Director in this.
After all, we do not need to
Reaction is
enslave the Xenos in order to kill them. And reallocate
share.
army units to begin wiping out the entire populations of planet. I remind His Excellency that the banking clan is still uncomfortably controlled by the Duros.
Vice Chair.
We mustn't if I may,
Yes.
we mustn't reorganize our resources to eradicate portions of the population. These are resources, star destroyers, troops who could put to the security of the Outer Rim.
This is for
That is
security,
more
General.
important.
Eradication will come sooner or later. What is more important is that I agree with our dear director's plan. Why should a human live under slavery while those bankers control all their credits? We must form a commission to finally complete the freedom of the humans. Vice Chair, we need to get into this.
Of course. We must make it a priority, Chairman, and we must make it so that all Xenos who are registered as required by law already, we can simply revoke their citizenship, and thus residency on Imperial worlds would be illegal, and it would not be slavery to arrest and employ criminals in our facility. Director, would you say this is appropriate?
Brilliant idea, Governor.
Does any of the
If I may.
Joint Chiefs have anything to add? Yes,
Yes,
Admiral.
If I may, I have another solution as well. Along with this, there are planets full of them. The Army's so worried about spreading what little resources they have. The Navy, on the other hand, has written up a program for it. Operation Ichigo. Simple enough. We'll pull a starfleet above a planet, predominantly alien, mass bombardments. Stormtrooper legions descend upon it, mass wiped out, slaughter them all, deal them in one fell swoop, scorch the planet, move on to the next. Any survivors will be interned and then shipped off. Simple.
What is that in Galactic Basic? I don't speak whatever local language you're speaking. What?
It's an old
Speak
slang,
basic.
don't worry too much about it. It means something in alien tongue, it'll strike fear in their hearts.
Ironic.
Well,
Chairman, I think it's a wonderful plan, frankly.
All I need is a
heard
legion
someone
of
from my left
stormtroopers and
here
it'll be done in a
who
jiffy.
wanted to talk. Was that Foster?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
go ahead.
I had some concerns now included with the Admiral's plan. I'm wondering why we're focusing so much on removing strategic resources. Every tool, every rock that the aliens operate, they are removing those having to be handled by humans, allowing those humans to remain in administrative roles, operational roles, and actually hold the blasters, steer the ships of the Empire. I hate the idea of seeing humans that could be actually working for our benefit being removed to handle rocks or operate a computer.
There are many degenerates left in the galaxy, human or not, General. And frankly, there are some members of society who are only deserving of picking up rocks.
Like these
Well,
brigands.
You make a good point, General Foster.
Your Excellency,
Yes, Marshal.
it is the role of the Starfighter Corps to conduct space traffic control and interdiction. Creating this new protocol will require us to seize thousands of ships in order to inspect them for possible slaves. This will dilute the force presence of the Starfighter Corps by at least 40% in core worlds, mid-rim worlds, and possibly by 80% in the outer rim.
Well, Marshal.
I do not speak in opposition or in support of the proposition. I merely wish to inform this esteemed council of the effect.
I see. Well, I believe that could be rectified by focusing our presence on the fortified lanes into the core, such as Commonor, and then reducing complements on secure worlds. Slowly but surely, we will have to go through each of these transports to free these human slaves from their chains, as we should have done while our Emperor was here.
And what of resettlement programs for veterans? When the war was over, Comor was struggling with it. Many were disallocated or allocated to the wrong place that they wished to be assigned to or given. We've yet to
My
improve
chef?
that system in so long, and I have many complaints of it.
Any
Yes, of
reports
course,
on this?
What of that?
The program is going exactly as designed, General. Veterans, all of their files are reviewed, are placed specifically where they are required in society as loyal members, people we can trust. Unfortunately, not all the time can we respect their ultimate wishes. someone who was an excellent military officer is more fit to be a bureaucrat than a farmer, and so they are needed on certain worlds. But I assure you and everyone here, our veterans are taken care of. High quality apartments, living standards, credits, of any kind they need for whatever world. I assure you, General, soldiers taken care of by Comor. Chairman, as you have no doubt heard in our various committee meetings, there has been no complaints by former soldiers to our committees on planets. Comor has reported no incidences since the resettlement programs for veterans started. I assure you, whatever you have heard is simply perhaps a disgruntled conversation, but these individuals are perfectly happy in their very appropriate housing.
I see. Well, I believe we talked about on this issue far enough. Does anyone wish to introduce a new point of discussion?
Excellency, I have a point of security to bring up.
Yes, Director.
As we briefly touched on, the populations of certain worlds, most of them Xeno in nature, their loyalties are questionable. And as we all see, is more than supportive of us over the past 2 decades. However, there is one black mark on my file. That is the world of Chandrila, historic capital of the old republics. A world where this port for fleet of the terrorist Halcyon is reaching concerning levels. Although, as we all understand, it is mostly the Xenos that cause this sort of issue. The humans of Chandrila are far too liberal. Clearly they oppose the many great initiatives. Indeed, Excellency. The Chandrilans, between their glasses of wine, seem to be too drunk to understand all the good that the Empire has brought them. Our comprehensive welfare reform, our infrastructure reform, the nationalization packages that have been a boon to galactic industry, and the counterance to the invasion by the Hutts that has been raping human civilization since the fall of the First Empire. Chandrilan.
The director speaks clearly. I have found that many of my least disciplined pilots come from that rock. I propose a blockade. Let them wither on the vine, cut off from the sustenance of the Empire.
Does our other Joint Chiefs of Staff think of this?
Well, I'll say, Chairman, second only to Corellia, Chandrila does have the lowest. Well, at one time it would have been membership of Commonwealth, but now that is required by law, of course, but their lowest competency when dressed with Comor assessments. Their party commissions on the planet are disorganized. I agree, we should cut them teat.
And what of the arts? What of the media produced? Creativity of that planet, which will influence those across the galaxy, the HoloNet, whether do or do not censor that information. Influence of that planet cause more of the same problem we have. I caution this action. Only cause me more trouble as a general. To deal with more uprisings will distract me away from the Alliance, which is the main threat. Let us not make more enemies than we need right now, gentlemen.
Any true servant of this empire who worships his imperial majesty the emperor would not allow themselves to be subdued by such fallacious rumors and lies. They'll see the destruction as a glorious moment in the empire. Do not question the loyalty of our people.
Admiral, you remind me of a saying.
Admiral Togo, speak with your seniors with a bit more respect we deserve.
I would take on the opinion of the Admiral there. These so-called rabble-rousers using the HoloNet for their spreading of lies and misinformation, just cut it off. Cut it all off. These incivility and loyalty, and I think that is just the way to do it.
I couldn't agree more. The local party commissions should deal with planetary arts and culture and programming.
Entirely agree with that.
Bah, what do these core world artists have that we don't have in the Severo and Tion? Our local artists are almost as good as the Chandrillans. They'll be replaced soon enough. So we don't need to worry about these core world artists anymore. We have new artists springing with the coalition of progress in the Outer Rim as well. My own sectors as well.
Gransha, you must listen to me. Begging you. Decisions like this will only lead us further down the road to revolution. Not in our favor, but against us.
Alarmist chatter.
Cultural revolution.
Well, General Zol,
you
what do you
remind
propose on
me,
Chandrilla,
quite
however?
respectfully, Director, you remind me of a saying, and the Admiral does as well. The wind that shapes the land bends and bows the grass, but you are like a rock. You feel secure in the dirt, no roots to bear you. You do not realize that any man with a pick and a strong arm will split you asunder. That is every government that has ever existed in this galaxy. Every military that has. We must recognize this.
General
We must be
Zoll,
strong.
perhaps your new skills should be shifted to the cultural department as opposed to the army.
Here.
I think it's worth stating that even if our own arts are improving, quite rapidly I might add, it may soon replace Chandrilla. The name of these artists are well known in the galaxy. We cannot place them right away. We must be aware of these influences and combat them effectively, but in a way that does not look bad upon the Empire.
Indeed.
Recruitment.
Give someone else's name.
Oh, an excellent idea.
Chandrilla is a problem, but is not the role of our empire to remind the core that for generations it has existed off of the colonies and the rims. Chandrilla is as rich as it is today because it exploited my world, as it exploits the rim, and it exploits our labor in keeping it peaceful and civilized. And now they bite the hand that saves them. They conspire. They subdue. They subvert. I would not say that Chandrilla should be destroyed, but I would not say that they are imperial subjects. They are not part of the body. Should we cast them out? Should we re-educate them? I do not know. I think most notably, were they to be like a whining child placed in a timeout, perhaps then they would understand their role in the galaxy. I recommend a limited blockade, one of an announced duration. That way, those second columns could be purged, and once order restored, Chandrilla could become a model of civility and order.
I agree.
I
Anyone
regret
else have- Yes,
to inform you, my friends, that as we've seen in history, there's no fixing a mongrel. They'll always stay savages. This planet poses as people of long-lasting civility, but deep down they're nothing but mongrels. There's only one solution to this. We cannot waste our time blockading and starving them, or re-educating them. They're simply not smart enough to grasp it. They cannot see the light shone down by the Emperor. They refute it. That is the problem. They refuse the truth of our empire, of His Imperial Majesty the Emperor, and for that they must be punished. More than punished, they must be dealt with. They must be destroyed.
And when they're
Thank you,
done,
Admiral, for your
and your
input.
culling of them is finished, what next? I assume you won't let go of those resources.
What will be
I
lost?
don't
We'll
think
do as
we
we
are
need to.
vintage.
Admiral, respectfully, I'm asking the Admiral a question. I bid his time.
Go ahead.
We will continue to ease the galaxy of these subpar,
There it is.
subhumans, really. And we have a elegant and definitive manner to do this now. A new project is being worked on that will subdue these
This
problems, these cretins once and for all. Remember, the end goal of this empire is to rule not only for peace and prosperity, but to endow everyone with a new ideologue. We are making something new here. No longer are we just blind bureaucrats preaching about security. No, we are teaching the world a new order. A new means of living, a new fanaticism in the Emperor, His Imperial Majesty. Once Carmore and all the other instruments mold the people into what they are to become, into loyal servants of His Majesty, we'll be unstoppable. There will be no naysayers. And
Thank you,
if there
Admiral
are any
Togo.
left, they
I believe
will
we
be
spent enough
called.
time on this. We have to move on to the other issue you brought up after.
Yes.
Well, I don't
Good
think we
speech.
need to call the issue currently. Vice Chair, we need to increase the number of our Comor propaganda officers on Chandrilla, and Director, begin surveillance of the most firebrand of speakers in Chandrilla. If the issue becomes worse, we could talk about more drastic actions.
Your
Done
Excellency,
immediately.
Admiral Togo mentioned that he had in mind a project. I'm curious as to what it was.
Very well, Admiral Togo, show us your new project.
Very well. We've been working on something for some time. The Dr. Mahdi left behind plans for an elegant weapon called the Hyper Howitzer. Thankfully, he was nice enough to hand this to us before his disappearance. Those plans are now in my possession at the Naval Intelligence Archive on Dredrina. This weapon has the ability to fire from a distance, not like the Death Stars of old where they had to linger above a planet, slowly pinpoint its location and fire. We have the element of stealth. The weapon platform it is mounted on is no unwieldy, bulbous star, but an elegant ship that has been modified to even harness cloaking abilities. We can simply coast into a hyperspace lane, several leaps and bounds away from the planet, not even in visual range. The weapon itself,
Another
the Hyper
super
Howitzer, it fires
It
using
seems like
hyperspace
I'm having
trajectory.
deja vu again, speaking with Director Marty on a Nova Obliterator.
This is no Nova
20
Obliterator,
years,
sir.
Granshaw.
what is
Admiral,
the difference
Admiral.
that Yes, General, you speak.
If I may, I'm sorry, Granshaw, but if I may, Admiral, Were you ever on the Nova Obliterate? Have you ever seen it?
Only when it was taken apart, from what I've heard.
Ah,
Saw alleged scraps.
I served on it. Saw it in what would have been its operation. And the effects of it. It was a large, hunking bucket of scrap made by a madman who was no doubt intelligent, and I would have even considered him a friend. Even I would tell that to him, especially after it failed. Cannot invest into these maddening super weapons. We should be building star destroyers, ships of the line, destroyers, logistics, cargo, freighters, to ferry ammunition and supplies to our garrisons, and fresh troops, to bolster our current holdings and positions.
You
General.
lack the vision.
You lack the restraint.
Admiral Traxon, you say something?
I propose the following question, and it's one that I've asked before but was not answered. General, you suggest that we take these resources and promote them towards the building of more troops and more industry. But yet, I ask you, the tactics we've already taken, they seem to have not worked. So what difference will it make if we have more ships, more troops, if they are still as inadequately trained as they are? I believe that our resources should be going towards the hyper howitzer, not more of the
We have
same
taken
that
half
has not worked for
measures.
us yet.
We have taken half measures to respond. We have done nothing. We've done everything but continue full-scale production. We have not even recognized the Alliance and our war against the Alliance as a war. We don't even use that word here outside of me, and I'm called an alarmist for it.
What you are?
Yes,
We would hardly
and
call stomping on
the
a
proper
bug.
response, if I may think, the proper response is to build an ultra mega death cannon to then shoot at the Alliance. Yes. How
couldn't agree more.
many star destroyers will be thrown together? What could have been? The flexibility of such a weapon is. You might as well be sitting still, even if you can ride in hyperlanes. What if they show up with a fleet? What star destroyers will you put to complement it? Our aging, decrepit fleet, as it were, that was being held together by a competent commander. Admiral Kincaid made sure our current fleet was what it was to this point, and now it's starting to fall apart because he knew how to operate it. Admiral, I am not
Admiral
satisfied with how
Kincaid
you've
was a
run the
queer
fleet.
and a fop.
Huh. Strong words coming from a director.
I'm not
All
sure
I've
what
heard
that's
from
meant.
you is these pleasantries of, oh, let us take care of these populations. Let us reallocate resources. Gentlemen, you must hear me. We have
Oh, for
to
certain.
consolidate our resources. We must put it into a concerted effort and treat it as a war.
General,
Not wave our hands. Yes.
I agree for you, for certain. I agree that we have not yet done anything more than take half measures. The hyper howitzer sounds to me like a whole measure. A grand one at that. I'm not sure what's so laughable about it.
I
No,
certainly couldn't agree more.
you're correct. What's laughable is there's nothing laughable about it. You're right. That'll be after the fact, when it detonates and that admiral is found floating in space somewhere.
General,
Yeah,
you
that's
speak
Togo.
about this threat of this so-called coalition or whatever themselves. You want to deter and build a weapon that can blow them off of any planet and they can't even see where it came from. The fact of the matter is we have the ability to construct this. And I think we should. And with all of the other things that we have been doing, we've been talking about now the relocation of alien species to put them to work when necessary. We can build a fleet and a weapon. And with the competent commander who knows how to organize supplies, that weapon could be extremely successful. In fact, will be extremely successful if correct commander, again, someone who would know how to operate such a logistical nightmare, if the correct commander is selected, that weapon will certainly be able to defeat this coalition if it ever musters to be anything. In the meantime, it will be a deterrent.
General Forster, Marshal Richtov, you two have anything to add to this discussion?
Absolutely. I wonder why we're focusing on half measures. We should build this weapon. We should send the fleets. We need to take on these threats and do so immediately. If we build such a weapon,
Excellent point.
we should use it. If we have the fleet, we should use it.
But they'll take from us, as they always do. The program will run long. There will be more resource requirements, as there always are. Can anyone deny? And next thing you know, well, we can't make the fleet because the hyper howitzer needs to be developed, or this special pod from it needs 10 trillion of this type of crystal, and we need to send 20 of our new star destroyers to get it.
You seem to lack faith
are the
in
knives.
His Imperial
into our others that
Majesty's
kill us.
weapons. Curious.
Perhaps if the army
It ties
garrisons
into every
could
other
Did the
control the
Emperor build
workers
this,
better.
or was that Dr. Marty? I found Dr. Marty has some, missing qualities sometimes.
Excellency. If I
Yes,
may be
Marshal.
heard. The Admiral speaks with great clarity on a matter that seems quite obscure to me. Grand weapons and static implements are quite the opposite of the Starfighter Corps' rugged independence and flexibility. If we consider the history of large weapons similar in this capacity, they have been found wanting. However, there are several aspects that delineate this device from its predecessors. One that would leave us with possibilities. I find it, however, very likely that the General is correct. It will be nothing but a boondoggle of the first degree.
You simply lack the understanding of power projection, and the ideological impact alone of a weapon of this caliber would be inspiring to our population, and destruction to the hopes of any so-called rebels.
I hear a lot of words and see very little proven results, either in history or in the present.
Well, Marshal, perhaps we can quell your concerns. Admiral Praxon, currently present, is the Director of Naval Intelligence. The Naval Intelligence Agency is currently the caretaker of all of Dr. Marty's designs that were left behind before he disappeared. Perhaps, Admiral Praxon, you could give us some practical information about this hyper howitzer?
I would be happy to. As you pointed out, for resources to be redirected to the hyper howitzer, this significant upgrade will allow us to be able to take action effectively and in more ways than one. For example, we do not need to be there deploying fleets and manpower in order to suppress any kind of insurrection. With a hyper howitzer, it's simply the matter of the press of a button. Many issues can be taken care of effectively without dedicating pools of manpower resources in which we could lose them. The hyper howitzer, however, stands at the forefront of how wars, as you so kindly put it, General Zoll, can be fought. This is the new age of fighting. The ground, or star destroyers and systems now of enemies simply vanish before us with these large weapons.
Operations has a concern. What would it take to accrue the resources for such project and to construct it?
Well, It's not too difficult, really. It does require a fair bit of parts, but luckily for us, the main component is a strong hyperdrive in pieces. We simply need to construct several hyperspace rings, powerful ones at that, combine them with a larger energy source, and then modify a capital ship, possibly a larger size one, strap it on. Then after that, it's computations. Many computations and the creation of specialized shells. And of course, the cloaking mechanism is a prototype, but it has proven successful so far. We simply just need the energy to maintain it. In the shells. These shells do not require kyber or anything insane. They have the capability of firing whatever you wish. You wish to destroy a city on a planet? Done. You wish to fire a biological agent to destroy a whole planet? Done. Incendiaries? Done. Its elegance is definitive. Its beauty cannot be denied. It is a weapon unthunk of before, and beautiful.
I wasn't aware that it was large enough to have a cloaking device, Admiral. Is that so?
As I said, it's a prototype, but initial tests have worked so far.
Well, that is excellent. Most excellent.
Wait.
Thank you, Admiral.
Have you been
We seem
paying
to
for
the
this,
follies
Admiral
of
Turgo?
I'm glad, Admiral.
Have you
It's
been using your
beautiful.
supplemental core fleet budget for this project?
We've only had to take in a small subsidy from it. But, as we discussed earlier, if we're so worried about budgetary constraints and whatnot, I have a recommendation. We're discussing supplementing garrisons on other planets in the future. Why waste that time? Why waste all of this debating on, more Compnor and more political officers here, when it's simple? The new legions are to be indoctrinated and forwarded by the Navy. So they're unquestionable. Their loyalty, never in doubt. Their effectiveness, untenable, undestructible. Deployed anywhere from our ships, sent down in lightning speeds, scorch the planets and leave. The planets that cannot be reached by the stormtroopers in time will be deleted from a distance.
I
think
would
we
love
must
to
not,
see that,
undercut
Admiral.
the importance of
Imagining
Commodore.
you commanding a force, attacking a planet, or trying to root out these guerrillas, and using the same vernacular that you are here now. Easy, simple, beautiful. I would like to see you repeating those words next time you're on a bridge, having to face down this new foe of ours. I guarantee you, those words will not crest your mouth.
I have no concern. Yes, there may be difficulties, there's always difficulties. But you speak as if this is some sort of crazed complication, as if we're going to have to dig into the core of the planets themselves and root them out. It's much more simpler than that. We burn it away. We wipe them out. Those who do not fall beneath our boots enslaved. You say this as if it's so difficult, as if these subhumans and aliens are so difficult and strong, as if they're some sort of army of invincible supermen. But they're not. If they were, then we would not be in this room to this day. The Alliance, the Coalitions, the Jedi would still be here, but they're not. They're creatures that do not deserve to live. They're a minor thorn in our side that will be crushed by the Navy and then subdued by the Intelligence Bureau.
Admiral, we do have a concern from operations. Reviewing previous data from your core, didn't you recently take a minor setback on the Bakun operation?
Yes,
Bakun
what was
is
that
a
about?
minor mining world.
What
Of course, a minor mining world with minor weapon capacity, but still your troopers didn't complete the objective.
Provided minimal
Operations
It was
resources
deemed
worth the effort.
it was deemed insignificant
What is
by the
Bakun?
Security Bureau.
I've not heard of this planet.
Exactly,
Excellency.
Chairman. What is
It is an insignificant world in the Outer Rim, which was deemed by the Security Bureau to have no strategic relevance, for has not been prioritized.
Gransha, be prepared for more worlds under these men's commands to achieve such ratings as this problem
Doctrine
grows.
again.
Any more comments on the project? What
Your
did you say? The
Excellency.
hyper howitzer? Yes, Marshal. Go ahead.
Where the Navy is a hammer, the Starfighter Corps is a scalpel. And I have questions I'm still not satisfied with. In the Navy's estimation, in order to suppress dissent, we should destroy it outright, with no care and no precision. This is revolting. If I were given orders to patrol hyperlanes and to prevent piracy, would it be sufficient in the Navy's new doctrine for me to destroy all commerce? That way, there could be no piracy. Would the Navy have us be lords of rebel, or lords of a galaxy intact?
Hear, hear.
A response, Admiral.
Well, other than the comically simplified version of... perhaps we'll need to go over the doctrine with you again. You don't seem to quite comprehend the bigger picture. But, simply put, if the galaxy is to burn, it will be by our hands as we choose and see it fit. His Imperial Majesty has given us these powers. We are to burn away the rot that has always sat there. The rot that we've spent years uncovering, thanks to the Intelligence Bureau. We've sat here long enough to know what needs to go. We just simply need to deal with it. Old
Admiral,
must
if I
go,
may.
and the new must arrive. In the blazing glory.
Go ahead. It's alright.
Admiral, if I may, please. I believe that the ideological security must be left Comor and its organization. Now, while I agree and support the idea that we must extend our fleet and we must build this super weapon, and that we can provide the logistics and supplies that will be appropriate to build it, I can guarantee that. But the Navy must not be solely responsible for the maintaining of the ideological purity of planets. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. The galaxy is firmly in our control. There's no need to be thinking about destruction in such a capacity. We must know that this weapon topic will be a deterrent, and I would surmise will likely never have to be used, which is excellent for all of us. Just means that we get on with our daily duties, and that the economy continues to grow, that we improve Imperial citizens' lives, and fix all the problems in our galaxy, and get rid of all these little minor things that we're trying to do. A deterrent like this will secure the Empire and its future.
I see. Quite agree, Vice Chair. Alright, I believe that was everyone who said their piece. Admiral Turga, I agree with my Vice Chair that a deterrent is always useful, but to use it is very costly. So, I'm proposing, as the area of the sector you are currently occupying, the core, is secure enough that you will move 40% of your strike fleets to the outer rim to support anti-rebel activities and piracy suppression, while we go forward with the construction of the hyper howitzer. We cannot do it any other way.
Wonderful to see, Chairman.
I will oversee this myself and ensure the initiation and initial parts of this new operation will be overseen directly by myself.
General Forster. Make
Yes.
sure the transfer of the core fleet, strike fleets, at least 40% of them, are redeployed to the outer rim. And then split them up on the local rear admirals and such.
I will make sure it's done effectively and quickly.
Well, Zol, are you happy? Finally got some fleets and strike forces in the Outer Rim.
Turret, mind you, not to be actively wagging around.
Yes. Thank you, Cruncher.
I believe that was all the points we had to bring up for today. I hereby bring the Joint Chief of Staff Commission meeting to a close.
Thank you, Chairman.
10,000 years for our Emperor!
You two are back there!
10,000 years!
Help me out of this chair! You two!
Commander!
Help him! Troopers, help him! Admiral,
Go on.
To it.
get out of my way. Admiral, we must discuss. Congratulations.
Commander,
on your
ensure
victory.
that the chairman is
Come on,
taken to his
Braxton.
quarters
Thank you.
immediately.
So,
And inform
then we'll
Dr.
see
Grunner. I'll meet you with you
let's
after,
go.
Chairman.
Oh, I think we're both
10,000
thinking the
years.
same thing, Admiral.
10,000
Meeting
years.
to discuss the movement of your new assets.
Hold on. I wish to talk with some of my colleagues before I leave.
Yes, sir.
Ah, my chair. Make sure you,
Are you
oh,
alright,
very
General?
good.
Yes. Yes, General. I'm fine. It's been a long day.
Yeah,
Yes, it has. A lot of
I'll
things
see if there's
didn't
anything
happen.
interesting on the artillery.
A lot of things that
And
should have
decide
happened.
based on that,
It's the regular.
You're free to go see.
What of
Quite, but
recent reports?
some
Have you
things
heard
did.
anything from your troops? Any clashes with the Alliance? What of this?
Very good.
Who do we have intelligence on again
You guys
in
speak
the
with
Alliance?
Saul
I
before
forgot.
depart?
It happened during Entrala. I forgot the
it's
report.
fine.
I have,
Trala.
I have it
We're
in front of me.
friends. I can
Yes.
wait
You're
for him.
talking about the ones on the troopers that escaped?
Yes. There are briefings on it. Recall them.
Yes, they spoke of captured defector. I don't recall his name from the report.
More so, they brought to bear against that station. It's shocking to see what the Empire's become, and is. But this was peace.
Yes,
Wasn't like
we
this.
must.
Of course.
We have to make sure that these resources are a way to prove the threat is, and to combat them in a way that is effective. Do you have any preferences on where
Director.
these new ships?
General Forsner, General Zal. It's not my design to interrupt your conversation, but General Forsner, I have a matter that is. Please finish what
Of course,
you're saying.
Director. I'll send a memo over to appropriately move these new assets.
Of course. Thank you on that.
General.
Director, please. I believe the High Moff is wishing to speak with you, General.
Yes, I think he is.
It's good to see you again. It's been a long time.
Yes.
Down, who haven't been able to perform
Dot.
even before, and as it was brought
Yes,
up
General.
on Lothal and in Intrala,
Compnol.
throwing the same solutions
Comp
at the
all,
same
I should
problems
say.
is not going to solve anything.
Plans for Chandrila. Do you mean them?
We'll have to take them. Standing commit meeting.
Apologies.
The Admiral
For
said.
the most part.
Destruction?
Oh, I do not
I didn't see you disagreeing.
The Admiral likes to speak, and to allow him a situation such as that is a Comor issue, primarily, and re-education of the population en masse is far preferable. But if necessary, steps can. But I assure you, General, be informed of significance. If you'd like, I'll update you once I meet with the Standing Committee.
Please, do. Call me personally. Message on the data slate.
Is there anything else?
No, Bernadotte, no. Thank you, Move.
Of course. Jim.
So, old boy.
Gunshaw.
Ah, yes. Well, I did manage to get you those fleets you needed.
Yes, you did. Except it's under the command of that admiral.
Oh, no,
Rancher, don't you
it's
see?
not. It's been transferred away from him. It's under the control of the Outer Rim commanders now. I believe you were the one who wanted to oversee the Outer Rim pacifications. You'll have your,
Yes.
at least some of the fleets of the core.
Gransha. Let us speak somewhat private.
Very well. Hold my arm, would you?
Yes.
Wait outside the door. Let's go there. Here's a spot we can talk inside here.
Your analysis last week of the security
God,
procedure.
stay outside here.
Thank you. I've
Grunshot. If I fail to contain them, our commanders are not capable of keeping this alliance contained.
If you're able, I would like to
Face
invite
what
you
we
to
became
a meeting of the
years
Standing
ago.
Committee.
They are us now. Young, spry, and led by a competent What I said in there was not fear-mongering. Mean it. You cannot take this lightly. Can't you see what those young ideologues are doing in there?
Comor is
You
I've
have
not
to.
received any reports on this issue, Saul.
such things.
Nothing crossed my desk, at least.
Gransha, give me the first Storm Corps. Give me the full power of the Stormtroopers. I'll put them in for a pitched battle and lead things to that conclusion. It's a big ask, I know, but please give them to me. I will end this. And if I cannot,
that the Standing Committee meets
then you'll know the
anymore.
situation. Then,
So it will be a sight to see.
of course, let him try that admiral with his howitzer, his hyper howitzer. Damned thing is.
Yes, I believe it has been.
We have not exhausted our conventional means. We've not done
Sorry.
anything.
Turing Mall.
I don't know if you've noticed. I am older than you by
Are you chair
some
of the committee?
years. I'm about to reach my
I'm the vice chair.
first century of life. I think I just passed it a few years
do
ago now.
Generally chair the Standing
You see
Committee
all these
meetings.
contraptions on my
French
body?
no longer attends.
They are the only thing keeping me alive. And one fang left for his adventure, whatever the Criffy is doing.
I've taken up many of his duties.
He empowered the ESB. And now I, as a man who has spent my entire life collecting power, can oppose them. However, after I'm gone, there is no one
Has always
who can
been
fill
passion,
my seat.
Admiral.
Dottie will try, of course.
Right,
He'll
out.
position himself as the legal successor, but he's
I found my
he was chosen for his loyalty, not for his
I have found an
proficiency.
enjoyment with governance.
Well, I'm sure my home planet of Tion and the Severa will be fine under my son.
Turn on the light.
I cannot say the same for the Empire as a whole. So, I'm completely being honest with you, Zol. That 40% of this fleet of the core, that is probably the most amount of ships I can give you without first going through the entirety of the standing committee. And if we come to that point, well, I probably need to spend all of my remaining political capital for this.
Have you worked with the General long?
Understand. I understand.
I think we're gonna have to make do. We may do it worse. What
I
we
worked
were
with him
starting
many,
off.
many years ago. You know.
We have seen worse days,
He's an excellent
indeed,
commander.
Monsieur. Remember back in Shen's time, the Nova Obliterator? You had to cover that up. The Shadow Academy?
Would do you very well to learn.
Remember
his
that,
tactics
that god,
from his
that,
boss, perhaps his
that
politics
sovereign
is something
hand?
you should forget.
Mudskip, was it?
Oh, I didn't really
The
interact
armor.
with the troops. What I
Oh.
most remember most clearly is how those idiot force users kept walking around the place thinking they owned it. Good thing they've been put on ice, huh?
Fear not for long.
I assure
The
you,
worse this gets,
Buster,
we might see them again.
Comor has taken a great interest.
I need to get into a back-to-bath soon.
There are always eyes watching.
course.
I don't want to stay outside of it for long.
Be not too,
Let me walk
shall
you
we
to.
say,
Yes, thank you.
I remember when you brought me to that meeting of, was it the coalition? What was it again? Presidium? I forgot what it was. It was the first
Oh,
political
Orinda,
thing I've
you
ever
mean?
attended. Yes, Orinda.
Yes. The Council of Moths, now defunct. I remember, of course.
General Zol,
excuse me.
Commander.
Ah,
Of course.
Commander. Yes.
your shuttle is ready, sir.
I have one matter to attend to. Sorry, Grancher, I wish I could go tank. I must leave
That's
you.
alright. You, go.
Yes, sir.
Perfectly alright. I will escort
Hey,
you, Your
sir.
Excellency.
1,000 years.
Director.
Commander,
I need to
Good
get
luck,
into
General.
a back-to-bath.
Sir,
thank you.
This way, Excellency.
Put in for a transmission. Send it to...
No one is to enter here. No disturbances.
these
No one
coordinates.
is to enter.
Tell them General Shurad Zol is questing counsel. You may get a gruff response back, but I want it funneled directly to my...
as you command.
Admiral, we should plan that meeting. Speak about the logistics of the situation of weapon.
Gorkon promised me when this be something better. I suppose not.